Well, today we're wrapping up our series, Your Best Life. And throughout this series, we've learned together that we're called to be a people of faith, hope, and love. That our happiness and contentment doesn't have to be based on the current circumstances or the world events. Thank God. Instead, our well being is founded on the reality of Jesus' promise that He's coming again. Now, this allows us to live with an eternal perspective and relinquish a little control in our lives, which drops our stress level down. So last week, we discovered together that this broken world that we all live in, we experience loss, planned and unplanned, but we grieve differently than others do because we have a certain hope that our faith is based upon, which is the work of Jesus and the reality of His resurrection. But all that being said, let's be honest, life gets crazy, right? Little things and big things. You know, your week gets out of hand and suddenly your check engine light comes on. Or you come home after a long emotional day of work and one of your kids says, "Hey, I've got this project and it's due tomorrow and I need all the supplies right now." Oh, geez. Friends at school maybe are ghosting you. You don't know why. No one's telling you. Or maybe you're in a relationship that just seems to be losing its moorings and you don't know where this thing is going. So today I want us to look at 3 habits that we're called to develop as followers of Jesus. Now, these are not suggestions or even encouragements. They are ways to live that will enable us to live our best life, to flourish no matter what the day throws at us. And they're found in 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. And they're pretty short, they're simple, and hopefully easy to remember. And here they are. Always be joyful. Never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. Now, the words that stick out to me with all of these things that Paul is writing are the words all and always. That concept of continually. No matter what the circumstances in our lives are, always we're going to have joy, we're going to pray, and we're going to be grateful. So we're challenged here to live a life characterized by these 3 things. Now, this is what is to mark us as people of faith, hope, and love. Always be joyful. Did you know that we're told 70 times in the New Testament to be known as people of joy? To take joy seriously, to develop it, to practice it, to prioritize it in our lives. I mean, maybe you're here today exploring your faith, and one of the reasons is because you can't find another place where you see men and women, students and kids expressing this much joy. There's not much joy out there these days. There's not much joy on social media. There's not much joy on cable TV. There's not much joy at work or in school. There's a lot of angst and frustration and even anger. But joy, well, that's hard to find. So joy is contentment in our soul despite our circumstances. It's not contentment in our circumstances. I mean, we're not going to have joy because we're in a crisis or because of the cancer that our loved one is having or a hurt that we're experiencing or a frustration. No, it's finding contentment despite our circumstances. Now, where do we find that? Well, our contentment is in Jesus, who's walking with us, who's leading us, who's teaching us, loving us through all these circumstances of our lives, good or bad. We're called to exhibit joy not only when everything goes right, but even when everything goes wrong. James expounds on this where he says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." He's saying here, our joy is in knowing that God is present and at work in and through all your circumstances. He's not abandoned you. He's building something in you. He's making you stronger. He's making you better. And even in these trials, He's helping you love your neighbor better. You know, if you're exhausted these days, Nehemiah once wrote, "The joy of the Lord is your strength," because your future is not tied to your outcomes or your circumstances. Your future is connected to a person, and His name is Jesus. Paul goes on to write, in 1 Thessalonians 5:17, never stop praying. Now, prayer is proof that I trust in God, that I'm living with the reality that He does exist. Because when I'm not praying, I'm relying on myself. And praying consistently is praying for everything in my life. I need God for everything in my life. I'm reminded of when Laura and I were in England this past summer. We attended a church service where a kind man approached us and asked if there was anything he could pray for us. Now, my wife at the time was getting over an illness, and she asked if he would pray that her sickness would go away. And she said, I know it's not much. There's bigger things to pray for. And he replied, nonsense. It's important in this moment, and nothing's too small for God. And can I tell you, Laura and I were so encouraged. Our hearts were so comforted. There's power in prayer. The most joyous people I know are people who make it a habit to pray. One man at FC who's gone to be with Jesus prayed each week for the prayers that you submit each week to our church. And he kept track of everyone when they were answered. And at the end of each year, he would count them up. And there were hundreds of answered prayers. Now imagine, through consistent prayer, being able to see and track the hand of God in your life all over the place. It's through prayer that we can be in continual dependence on God and conscious of His presence with us and the work that He does in our life. And finally, Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, be thankful in all circumstances. Now, we hit upon this briefly last week and even a few minutes ago. Paul writes that we're to be thankful in all circumstances, not for all of our circumstances, that we don't go through life through the difficult things, dealing with them all by ourselves. So, have you figured out that gratitude does not come naturally? Those of you with small children, there are some words you don't need to teach them. They figure it out all on their own. Words like no or mine, right? But you do need to teach them to say thank you. And usually it's a process, right? You're teaching them, say thank you, say thank you. Okay, this person gave you this, say thank you. And eventually it turns into, what do you say? What do you say? And then finally they're prompted to say thank you. And then a reward comes out. Yes, that's exactly what you say. You say thank you. Because gratitude, it's learned. It's not natural. Gratitude, though, is a practice of celebration. It's an antidote to our despair, and it's often overlooked and misunderstood. We live in a culture that ignores gratitude, really, and cultivates the opposite, which is resentment, right? So we hear things in culture like this: you deserve a break today. Can you believe that they have that and you don't? And it goes on and on. We have to be purposeful when it comes to gratitude. Dare I say, we need the help of God Himself, the Holy Spirit living inside of us. Well, somebody once said that thanking is thinking. There's an intentionality to it. There's a component to remembering with gratitude. Remembering others who have helped us. Remembering where we have come from, maybe a year ago. Remembering that we have what we have left rather than what we've lost. We talked about that last week. There's a host of benefits to gratitude as well. Research is finding this out, that people who have more gratitude in their lives, they have stronger immune systems, they're less bothered by aches and pains, they have lower blood pressure, they exercise more, and they take better care of their health. They sleep longer, they feel more refreshed upon waking up. Psychologically, they have higher levels of positive emotions, they're more alert, alive, and awake, more joy and pleasure they experience in life, and they have more optimism and happiness. And socially, there's benefits. They're more helpful and generous and compassionate. They're more forgiving, more outgoing, and they feel less lonely and isolated. Guys, we're called to always be joyful, to never stop praying, and to be thankful in all of our circumstances. Now, why these three? What's with them? Well, if Oh, maybe I can help you by sharing about what's going on in our world today. There's a phenomenon going on in the NFL right now where one of the more popular football players, tight end Travis Kelce, is dating someone who's rather famous herself, Taylor Swift. And this week, the talk that's going around is that Travis plays even better when Taylor Swift is at the stadium cheering him on. And so everybody's involved in this conversation. They're all talking about this. And it's all fun and games for sure, but we've all seen the weight and toll that fame takes on people, right? These days, people seem even more obsessed with fame than ever. I'm just talking about the average person, from shows like The Voice and American Idol, what are you doing here? You're singing, I just want to be famous. I just want to be famous, right? To social media platforms where it's the race for followers, and never mind, people will do crazy things to go viral so that everybody can see them and their popularity will grow, their fame will grow. Now, as much fun as all this is, I'm not sure that we were made for those kind of bright lights. I think there's a weight and a toll that comes with those. And so joy, prayer, and gratitude are all ways that we respond to God in worship. When we worship this way, we make God famous. And honestly, guys, I think he's the only one who is ever meant to be famous. He's the only one who can handle true fame. It doesn't wreck him, it makes him even more beautiful. And when we lift our attention toward God, we're reminded it's not about me. And guys, I don't know about you, but I think we all need daily reminders of that. Worshiping God through joy, through prayer, and through gratitude. There's some things it does for us. One of the things it does is that it recenters us and it grounds us each day. It reminds us that God is God. We're not. That, God, I'm going to trust you as I have these conversations, as I send out these emails, and I build this structure or make this meal. It allows me to relate to my spouse and my kids better. It gives me a sense and a way and a perspective to care for my aging parents and to even how I treat my pets. So it helps ground us in this way. Another thing that it does is that it reframes our fears. We're no longer carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. When we see the news, it scares us, but God is more than capable. He has all this. I don't have to fear my future. I don't have to be afraid of my bills, the drama that surrounds me. God still has the whole world in his hands. Worshiping reminds me of that. And then finally, it restores our souls. And I want to ask you this question today. Is your soul tired? Do you find a deep-seated exhaustion in your life? Do you find that you need a vacation after the vacation? Worship restores our souls. It reminds me of what Jesus once said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Could it be that rest is cultivated in joy, prayer, and gratitude in our worship? People who do not have a relationship with Jesus, they experience joy and gratitude through what happens in their life. They're relying on themselves or on their fellow man. Yikes, I don't think that's a good plan, right? These are only possible in Jesus. These are spiritual virtues that we're called to live by. They are produced in connection with Jesus. So we're not a people whose well-being is to be dictated to us by our circumstances. So I want to ask you this question here. What do you see in this picture? Well, I'll bet you the first thing you're saying is that we all see this cute koala bear, right? But I want to point your attention to the eucalyptus leaves surrounding our little friend. As you may remember, over the last couple of years, Australia has been dealing with some out-of-control wildfires that have scorched much of the earth on that continent. Yet, eucalyptus trees carpet the country of Australia today. And here's why. After a fire, the eucalyptus seed capsules open when they're burned, and the seedlings survive in this freshly burned, ash-rich soil. It's designed for this. So in fact, certain species require the tough coating around the seed to be melted by fire to germinate. Isn't that amazing? So it's not just a story of surviving a fire and the devastation. It's better than that. It's that the fire is necessary for the potential to be birthed. The same fire that brings devastation is also the key that brings new life. And this is why Paul's able to write what he writes to the Thessalonian church and to you and me today. Despite your circumstances, good or bad, you can live your best life. So let's be known as a people who are always joyful. We never stop praying, and we're thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. And if Jesus is your everything, then you can face anything. So if you've been running low on joy and gratitude lately, what if you looked again at Jesus, who he is and what he's done for you? He's dependable, he's love, he's faithful, and he's good. And he pursues you every day with goodness and mercy. And he's the one who deserves all the fame and all the glory. God bless you.